You know, a commercial door isn't just a slab of metal or wood. We think it is, but it's really the gateway to your business.
It's so much more.
It's a critical piece of your security, your fire safety, your entire operational cash flow. And if you're managing property in a market like New York City, that door being down,
Hmm.
it's not just an inconvenience.
No, it's a fundamental threat to staying in business.
Yeah.
And I think we need to reframe the entire question people ask. It's not, can I afford this one repair?
Yeah.
The real question is, when does this cheap fix today become a catastrophic financial liability 5 years from now?
And that's our mission for this deep dive. You, the commercial property owner, you've given us the sources, the local regs, the financial guides, all the tech specs. We're going to distill it all down to answer that one huge question: repair or fully replace.
And we're going to anchor this entire discussion around one absolutely crucial metric:
Hmm.
the total cost of ownership, TCO.
Right.
Most managers, they just look at the upfront bill for the repair. TCO forces you to see the whole life cycle, the spare parts, the energy it uses, future maintenance.
And the big one, the cost when it actually breaks down.
Exactly. The costs you incur during the breakdown, that's what gets missed.
I think people miss the TCO mark on those soft costs, the disruption. A key loading dock door fails at 9 a.m. What's the cost of diverting all those trucks? What's the security vulnerability that opens up?
If you only focus on that immediate invoice, you are dramatically underestimating the long-term drag from an unreliable asset. It's the number one mistake.
And it inflates costs over time. A $500 repair looks great today.
But if that same system breaks down twice a year and costs you $10,000 in lost business over 5 years, that initial good deal was actually a terrible decision.
Okay, so let's start with the things that take the decision out of your hands. Let's unpack this regulatory minefield, because the minute your door fails a safety check, the debate is pretty much over.
It's over. Compliance forces your hand, and fire safety is at the top of that list. It is non-negotiable, especially in New York City. We're talking about self-closing doors, which are now being proactively enforced.
Right, this is happening right now. Local Law 71 of 2022. It mandates that the HPD, the Department of Housing Preservation and Development, proactively inspects hundreds of buildings every single year.
And they're looking at every self-closing door they can get to. Hallways, common areas, even apartment entry doors, if they're accessible.
So what's the specific HPD requirement?
It's that any door accessing an interior corridor or a stairwell has to be self-closing. And they need reliable, heavy-duty devices. An overhead closer, floor spring, something robust. And it has to be in perfect working order.
So a repair that makes the door slam, or maybe it doesn't latch quite right.
That's not a repair. It's just delayed non-compliance. And that comes with steep fines and, more importantly, a huge life safety liability.
Okay, which brings us to the more specialized stuff, like rolling fire doors. This is where the standards have gotten, well, a lot more professionalized.
And a lot more expensive to maintain if you have an aging system. It all comes down to the NFPA 80 requirement. This has been a massive operational shift.
What's the shift?
The annual inspections, the safety drop tests, they can't be done by your general maintenance guy anymore. Not even just any technician.
So who has to do it now?
It has to be a certified, trained, rolling steel fire door systems technician. And this technician has to provide documented proof of that training. So for you, the owner, this means the liability for these systems is skyrocketing.
And if you can't get that documented certified repair for an old failing door,
Then replacement becomes your only path to compliance. It just is.
you can see how that immediately raises the TCO of just trying to keep an old door limping along.
Absolutely. And if you have doors in critical exit paths, like a stair enclosure, the type of door itself might force a replacement. We're talking about temperature-rise
What
doors.
are those exactly?
They're specifically designed to keep an exit path usable during a fire. The rule is that they have to prevent the temperature on the non-fire side from getting more than 450 degrees Fahrenheit, hotter than ambient, for 30 minutes.
Wow.
So if your old door can't meet that specific temperature rating, no amount of repair is going to make it compliant. It has to be replaced, period.
Okay, that's a lot just for fire. Now, let's move from fire to human access. Accessibility laws, right? The ADA. That can also trigger a mandatory replacement.
It can. For any public entrance, the ADA guidelines are, well, they're extremely specific, down to the quarter-inch.
Seriously?
Yes, a new door installation, the threshold can't be more than half an inch. For an existing door you're modifying is 3/4 of an inch. But here's the detail that trips people up. Any edge that's over a 1/4 inch high has to be beveled at a 1 to 2 slope.
That is exactly the kind of nuance an owner might miss, and then bam, you're facing a compliance lawsuit.
And there's one more big ADA point. The bottom 10 inches on the push side of the door, it has to be a completely smooth surface, no interruptions.
Why is that?
It's to accommodate wheelchair footrests. So if your current door has, a decorative bottom rail or some complex hardware in that zone, you might need a full door swap to eliminate a very clear accessibility violation.
So those are the non-negotiables. Now let's talk about the physical breaking points, the times you stop thinking about repair and you just call a pro immediately.
These are the signs of imminent structural collapse. If you hear a loud bang, a snap, that's almost certainly a broken spring. That spring is what's holding up the massive weight of the door.
Right. Or you might see, what, frayed cables?
Frayed or snapped cables, or this is a subtle one, a fine black dust or powder around the bearings. That means metal is grinding on metal. Catastrophic failure is coming.
And the absolute #1 rule.
Disconnect the power immediately and step away. You must not, I repeat, must not try to open that door manually if a spring is broken. Without that counterbalance, that door is unbelievably heavy. It can just crash down.
A certified professional is the only person who should be touching it at that point.
The only one.
So once we're past the mandatory safety stuff, the decision really pivots to pure finance, to that total cost of ownership.
Right. And legacy doors.
Mm-hmm.
Old systems.
Mm-hmm.
This is where the TCO number becomes terrifying over the long run.
Why is that?
Because the components reach their end of life. They start to fail exponentially more often. The parts become proprietary, they're harder to find, and the few vendors who can still service them, they charge a premium. The TCO just spirals upwards.
It's the cost of obsolescence, right? You're basically forced to buy expensive, outdated parts just to keep an old system running for another 6 months.
Exactly, which is why the ROI on replacement can be so powerful. Let's just take access control.
Okay.
Replacing old locks and keys with modern digital credentials, key cards, fobs, biometrics, you get quantifiable savings.
I think the biggest immediate win there is you stop paying for rekeying. Every time someone leaves, especially in retail or in office, you've got this recurrent cost and disruption of changing all the locks.
It's gone. Modern access control eliminates that completely. Plus, the security gain is immense. You get a perfect audit trail. You know who accessed what door and when, down to the second. That is priceless for any kind of investigation.
And if you're migrating the whole system over to IP-based security,
Even more TCO reduction, especially if you have multiple sites. You can use power over Ethernet, which cuts down on cabling costs.
yeah.
And more importantly, you can manage all your doors from one single dashboard. Efficiency goes up and service calls go way, way down.
Now, here's where the financial analysis gets really interesting. The surprise tax benefit of replacement. Through something called cost segregation studies.
It sounds dense, I know, but it's critical for property owners. Let's just simplify it into two buckets.
Please do.
Bucket 1 is Section 1250 property. Think of it as the building itself, structural components. That stuff gets depreciated over 39 years. You get tiny tax savings spread out over almost 4 decades.
So your capital is tied up for a long, long time.
A very long time. Bucket 2 is Section 1245 property. This is tangible personal property, and it gets recovered over just 5 or 7 years. This is money you can deduct now.
Okay, so where do doors fit in?
Well, the default classification for a commercial door overhead, roll-up, all the hardware, is usually Section 1250, stuck at 39 years.
But a cost segregation study can challenge that.
Precisely. While the door slab itself might be structural, the specialized systems related to it, like the dedicated electrical for an automatic opener, a computerized lock, a local fire suppression system, those can often be reclassified as Section 1245 property.
So you move those costs from the 39-year bucket to the 5 or 7-year bucket.
And you get a huge accelerated tax deduction. It turns what was a necessary expense into a strategic financial move that lowers your immediate tax bill.
That is the definition of turning a problem into a financial advantage, which, I mean, if you do decide to replace, you need a local partner who actually understands all this, the compliance, the tech.
A whole picture.
Exactly. Someone who can make it a smart investment. And for that, you've got City Gates USA. You can call them at 718-939-9700. They have an unmatched selection. Everything from high-security rolling steel to those sleek aluminum storefront doors, and their 5-star reviews speak for themselves on installation and service.
Okay, so let's get specific now. Let's tailor this framework based on the location. I mean, a door on a warehouse loading dock has totally different demands than a gate for a retail storefront.
Right. Let's start with the warehouse. The sources you gave us pointed to a really startling shift in where theft is actually happening.
It's a huge shift.
Huh.
Historically, all the security was focused inside the four walls. But the data from supply chain forensics now tells us that a staggering 85% of financial loss happens at the trucking stage.
85%.
85, compared to only 10 or 12% inside the actual warehouse. Cargo theft is moved outside, to the staging area and the transport itself.
So the dock door becomes less of a final barrier and more of an operational checkpoint.
Exactly. You need hardware that secures the trailer to the building. We're talking about vehicle restraints, dock lock systems. They physically lock the trailer to the dock, and critically, they have to integrate with your building security.
So you get an alarm if someone tampers with it.
An immediate audible alarm. It prevents criminals from staging a trailer for a later theft.
And beyond the hardware, there's just basic operational safety, OSHA stuff, preventing what the sources called deadly interactions.
That's all about planning and training. You need to establish clear pedestrian walkways, ideally 4 to 6 feet away from the dock doors, and you have to have mandatory training for forklift operators. Stop, blow the horn, and check visually before you exit a trailer, every single time.
And while we're on operational ROI, what about insulated doors? Is there a real measurable benefit to upgrading from a standard metal door?
A huge one. It's energy efficiency. An insulated door with a polyurethane or polystyrene core tightens the building's entire thermal envelope. That translates directly into significant energy savings, especially in a temperature-controlled facility. That saving offsets the replacement cost year after year.
Okay, let's pivot to commercial gates. Especially in a place like NYC where space is everything, replacement there often isn't just about security, it's about maneuvering.
It's about physical obstacles, absolutely. A traditional swing gate needs a huge, clear arc to open. You just don't have that in most of the city. Sliding gates are more modern, more secure against being forced, and they work way better on uneven ground.
And the sources showed some really creative solutions for those impossible spots.
Yeah, these are custom-engineered systems. Things like trackless bifold gates that are combined with a sliding gate or a folding door that literally moves around a concrete ramp on a track, almost like a roller coaster.
Wow.
It's for those spaces where a conventional gate just will not work.
And when you're automating any of these gates, what are the absolute non-negotiable safety standards?
2 acronyms you have to know, UL 325 and ASTM. These are the guidelines that cover everything from entrapment prevention to mechanical failure. You have to have safety devices, photoelectric sensors, pressure-sensitive edges that stop and reverse the gate if they detect anything in the way.
Ignoring those is a massive liability.
A guaranteed non-compliance and a massive risk. And for security, you want hardware with a high-impact resistance. Look for an IK10 rating. That's the highest standard available. It means it can withstand serious physical force.
And for a high-volume gate.
Integration is key. You want a system that ties license plate recognition, video surveillance, and access logs all together. It gives you real-time monitoring and forensic capability. For these kinds of complex projects where you need something that lasts and is often a custom solution, you really have to rely on experts. That's where a company like City Gates USA is essential. They've been designing and fabricating overhead and UL-classified fire-rated doors since 1955, right there in College Point, New York.
Almost 70 years.
That's decades of commitment to excellence and trust, and you see it reflected in their consistently 5-star customer feedback.
Okay, we have covered a dizzying amount of ground here, from HPD fire codes to IRS depreciation rules. Let's distill it all down. Let's give you, the property owner, the 3 core questions you have to answer.
First question, safety and compliance. Does this door fail current NYC safety regulations? The HPD self-closing rule, the NFPA 80 fire test, ADA clearance. Is it an immediate mechanical hazard like a broken spring? If the answer is yes, replacement is almost certainly mandatory.
Question 2, TCO and technology ROI. Will replacing the door with a modern system IP access control high-efficiency insulation give you a substantial quantifiable return on your investment? Calculate the savings from reduced maintenance, lower energy bills, or that big boost from accelerated tax depreciation.
And the third question, structural integrity versus lifetime cost. Are you just constantly pumping money into old proprietary parts that are getting harder and harder to find? If the cost of keeping that old door limping along is approaching the cost of a new, modern, reliable system, then it's time to upgrade. and the financial drag.
We started this by saying doors are more than just metal and wood, and I think we've shown they are now intricately linked to your financial assets, your security, and your legal compliance.
I think the key takeaway is this. Maintenance is security. In a high-stakes environment, the cost of modernization, it often pales in comparison to the hidden cumulative cost of just doing nothing, of complacency. The greatest long-term waste might not be the upfront check you write for a new door.
What is it then?
It's the slow, constant financial and operational drag of outdated, non-compliant security that forces you to always be playing defense.
So don't play defense, get ahead of the curve. And if you need a partner who can deliver on compliance, technology, and trust, check out City Gates USA. You can call them at 718-939-9700. They are the local experts with the 5-star commitment to excellence for all your commercial door needs.